So we have a promise that when we are overwhelmed, that we are going to be led to a place where we understand enough that we can let go of the overwhelm, that we are going to be led to a rock that is higher than I, right? It says in the Bible that we're going to be led to a place in thought where we can see the reality and let go of the material sense that is overwhelming us, being overwhelmed. So there's a scene in the Bible where Miriam and Aaron are getting on Moses's case because he married an Ethiopian woman. Basically, we're talking about racism here. And they're judging him and saying, no, 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 this isn't good. We can't trust you because you did this horrible thing. And ultimately, the Lord comes down from on high, the cloud comes in, and God talks to them and says, you know what? Moses is good. He's speaking the word, and you guys need to trust that. And then Miriam gets leprosy, and she's cast out for 7 days. And they don't leave, they don't journey on from that place until she's brought into the camp. Underlying all of this story is that place in us where either we've been judged or we've judged, but it's calling on us to have the humility to A, recognize when we're seeing people in a way that's not accurate, and B, when someone has sinned or seen you in a way that's not accurate, do we have the humility to love more, to go to a higher place in thought where we're seeing accurately, where we're seeing, oh, they recognize, oh yeah, Moses is speaking the truth and there is good here. And the people in the camp are recognizing, you know what, Miriam is good and we can welcome her back in. They were sorry that they had seen Moses in that way and recognized that they had done something that wasn't their highest sense of right. But it's on both sides of the equation. It's not like, oh, let's punish the people who aren't doing it right and we can just move on. Like how many of us go, yeah, they're not for me. I'm going to move on. I'm going to go on with my life. I'm going to journey on, right? I'm going to go on with my life. And I'm not going to partner with them. I'm not going to associate with them anymore because they don't see things accurately. They don't see things the way I see them. And I'm pausing on that because there's a very subtle form of that shows up in religious sort of holier than thou circles. And we need to be very alert to that because that's exactly, talk about the serpent, that's exactly what everything that goes against truth, Christ, would want us to do. To part ways with people who are striving to be good. To divide from those who really have good in their heart, but maybe doing it differently than we do. Or maybe associate with people differently than we do, or maybe be friends with people who we think are really not the right friends to have, or be married to the people who we think are not the right people to be married to. And how many of us on some subtle level are looking at them and seeing them as less than, or as not doing it right? It's our responsibility to go to the rock that is higher than us. To go to the rock that's higher, to go to the place where we see clearly. What happens when you go up higher on a mountain? You see farther. If it's cloudy in the valley, you see the sunlight. Like you have a different perspective when you go higher. You can see more of reality when you go higher. What does that mean? What does that mean in your practical experience to go higher? And we are promised that when we are overwhelmed with those sinning thoughts, and sometimes it doesn't feel like we're overwhelmed. Sometimes it feels like we're overwhelmed and burdened, but there is a period in the place of believing in false ideas, where sometimes it feels really good to the ego. Sometimes it feels like, yeah, I did that right. Yeah, I know I'm better than they are. I know I'm doing it the right way and they're doing it the wrong way. Or when other people, when you feel like, and this is sort of the negative side of it, you feel like other people are not seeing you accurately and you need to defend yourself. You need to correct them because if only they saw you accurately, then everything would be okay. Well, we've talked about it before. What other people think of us is none of our business. So how do you deal with that? When when you really feel like somebody is just not seeing you? Well, if you're not being seen, where do you go? If you're not being seen in a room and you need to speak to the whole room, what do? You go stand on a little box and you get higher so people can all see you. So what do you do if you're not being seen accurately? Go to a place that's higher. Then you'll be seen accurately. Go to that place in your thought about yourself that sees you accurately. If someone else isn't seeing you accurately, then you need to see you accurately. Go higher and let yourself be seen in seeing yourself in a higher place. It always comes back to what are we holding in our thought, not what are they holding in their thought. What are we holding in our thought about us? And what are we holding in our thought about them? And if you look at the Moses and the Miriam and Aaron story, there's a humility there. They don't journey on. They don't leave Miriam behind. They wait. They see her for who she is. She comes back into the fold. There's another story in the Bible about Saul persecuting the Christians. And, Jesus has come and gone. He's already ascended. Saul's walking around persecuting any Christian he could find. And Jesus shows up and says, what are you doing? Why? Why are you kicking against the pricks? It's tough to do that. And Saul becomes blind. He's not seeing clearly. He's not seeing man rightly. Ananias gets the vision. I want you to go to Tarsus, and I want you to see this guy, Saul of Tarsus, who's praying in the temple, and I want you to preach to him. I want you to let him know that he can see rightly, that his thought can be illumined with the truth of man. And then all of a sudden Saul sees, oh, I wasn't seeing this. He was taken to a place that was higher so that he could see, and then changed his name to Paul and became one of the advocates of the Christ and preached the gospel and preached the truth to as many people as he could. So what is it in us? Where are those blind spots in us where we can have our thought illumined? Let's just start with, where are those places in thought where we don't see ourselves accurately, where we're holding on to some negative belief or limitation about ourselves, and we've just accepted it? Where are those places? Look at them and let the scales fall from your eyes like they did with Saul. It was as though scales fell from his eyes and he could see clearly. Let the scales fall from your eyes about yourself and see the limitless nature of who you are. Most of you get it on a pretty good scale. Like, you got it. Like, you've been studying that. Most of us, I shouldn't say you, most of us who've been studying this stuff. I mean, you're here. You've been doing this a while. But there are always those little places where we've accepted something just because, and we don't need to, and we can challenge it. I see clearly. Why? Because God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. Notice the word saw. God sees good. God sees goodness, love, truth reflected in man, expressed, demonstrated by man. That's how God sees us. Do we see us that way? We can go back to the very beginning and claim it. And if we are not, Mrs. Eddy talks about in Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. Mrs. Eddy talks about holding ourselves superior to sin, like to hold yourself superior to sin because God made you superior to it and governs man is true wisdom. She says the same thing about to hold yourself superior to sickness and death is equally wise. Are we holding ourselves superior to sin, sickness, and death? Because God made you superior and governs man. Well, what's the ego do when you say that? God made you superior. The ego comes in and tries to trick you and say, oh, so you're gonna be egotistical and all that, and you're gonna call yourself superior. That's what that false ego tries to do. It tries to knock you down if you claim superiority in the sense that God has given you superiority over sin. The ego tries to come in and trick you and say, don't be superior. Tries to knock you down if you're feeling confident, and then pushes you farther down until you're at the lowest of the low and you start thinking of yourself as, I can't do this. What was I thinking? Who do I think I am? I can't hold myself superior to sin. I'm just a lowly worm. So that false ego gets you on both ends of the spectrum. Be very wise and alert to that. Wiser than serpents. To hold ourselves superior to sin because God made us superior to it is wisdom. To hold ourselves superior to sickness and death is wisdom. So if we're given that gift, where in our life are we not doing that? And why are we not doing it? What are we doubting about God? Because God governs man and God made you superior to it. What are you doubting about God that you're not allowing that thought to be very prevalent in your consciousness? Holding yourself superior to sin because God made you superior to it and governs man. What does that government look like? That's the Christ illuminating your consciousness whenever, illuminating that place that needs to be lifted higher. So the thing that the message that sort of the overarching message of this for right now is to commit to that. Commit to seeing yourself rightly and seeing others rightly. Commit to going to that place that is higher, where you have the better view, the more godlike view, and know that you are going to, as you go higher, release those places in thought. That's an automatic, it's like as you go higher, those things drop away. It's an automatic response to your committing to that. Because as you commit to it, like make the commitment and then let the process work itself out. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Commit, and then your thoughts will be established. That's a promise. Are you willing to make the commitment? Are you willing to hold yourself superior? Because God made you superior to it and governs you. Make the commitment. So commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Same thing. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. So there's a promise in there that if you commit to standing on that higher ground, and you commit to seeing yourself as being superior and having superiority over sin, over those false notions, God is supporting you, and the way, and your blindness will be healed, is healed. Your blindness is healed because you now see clearly the true nature of man, yourself and others. And there's no racism there. There's no bigotry there. There's no blindness there. There's no, I want to persecute them because they do it differently than I do. There's none of that in there. Think about people who vaccinate or don't vaccinate. Think about people who mask or don't mask. Do you have judgments around that? Do you subtly hold some self-righteousness in your view of that? Get alert to it. Go stand on a rock that's higher. There's no personal sense. There's no personal opinion. There's no personal right or wrong in God. Hear that. When you feel personally righteous, think again. Have the humility to see the person who has sinned and is being punished for their sin, having leprosy and being cast out, and have the humility to see them rightly and hold the space for them. In order for you to do that, you got to do it for yourself. And there's no personal sense in any of that. There's humility in there. And the humility brings you to that place of divine love. Because without humility, there is no divine love. Humility is that lens through which you can see, experience, demonstrate divine love. Otherwise, you're verging into that personal sense of, I think I know love. I think I'm going to express love. Humility is the place where divine love gets to shine through, not personal righteousness or personal sense of, I'm going to be good and I'm going to show them. Or conversely, I'm going to be really good and I'm going to show them what love is. If it's coming from the false sense of ego, it's not true. So remember, that false sense of ego is going to show it to you. There are two sides of that coin. It's going to show it to you from the side of being ultra good or ultra bad. Good and bad, false. All good, divine good. God made you superior to sin. Through humility, you understand and recognize that. That's good. That good and bad, right and wrong, personal sense, not the direction we want to go. It just gets us into trouble. And we suffer from that sin because the belief of sin is punished so long as the belief lasts. We know that's true. And that's a quote. Okay, let's bring it in. This happy morning with all of these good ideas. I don't want to be too serious, so let's bring it in. So two final thoughts. One, you know, the phrase, we've shared it before here, if you don't have a copy of Prose Works, this is in Miscellaneous Writings, you know, humility is lens and prism to the understanding of this divine science. Lens and prism, so magnifies and separates into all the component parts so we can understand it all, right? Lens and prism. And when you commit, you can trust the process. You can trust that the way of the Christ, you can trust that your thought is being illumined, and let it, that's where humility comes in again. Let that occur. You know, trust in the Lord, mark the perfect man and behold the upright. So committing to seeing man perfectly, seeing yourself and others perfectly. Mark the perfect man and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. So the process by which this is occurring brings you peace, does not put you in a place of struggle. It doesn't put you in a place of self-condemnation or self-bashing. It brings you into that place of peace where I know that God is working his purpose out. I've been promised that, and I'm going to trust that. So commit and trust and have the humility to let go of beating yourself up. Let go of feeling like you've done it wrong. The past doesn't exist. There is no past. So holding on to past wrongs is a current situation, not a past situation. Holding on to, oh, shoot, I made that mistake. When is that thought occurring? Right now. It's occurring about the past, but it's occurring right now. So you have a choice. You don't have to keep carrying that forward. So commit to standing on the rock that is higher than you are. God brings you to that rock, by the way. You don't have to struggle to get there by yourself. Have the humility to say, okay, God, take me to the rock that's higher. And you get lifted up. God lifts us to the rock that is higher than I. It's not you like groveling up the rock face that's completely vertical and you have no ropes and carabiners. God actually lifts you and puts you on the rock so you can see clearly. Just accept it. Accept the gift. Good grief. You know, some people who are so good, like you guys, you know, you tend to struggle and not accept the help that God is presently giving you in every moment. So accept the help, receive the good, see yourself clearly and see how amazing and wonderful you are, and just accept it. Gosh darn it. Accept your brilliance. God made you. I think God did pretty good work. Like, thank you, God. Thanks for being so awesome and making such an amazing individual. That would be you. Accept it and stand on that rock, stand a little taller and go, okay, God made an amazing thing. I want to see all of the amazingness that I am, that God created in me. You're an individual idea. There's no one else like you, ever. That's pretty awesome. So have a wonderful day. Oh, and if you are a guest, we may have guests visiting us this morning. If you are a guest, yay, you I hope you join us all week, because this is very cool. And I love being here for you and for me and for this process, because this is what I'm called to do. And I'm very grateful that you're here. So lots of love, you guys. See how wonderful you are. Have a great day.